Good evening. I am Alistair, your anchor for this Tuesday, August 11th. Tonight we examine the logistics of evasion. Br. The President of the United States reportedly left Air Force One inside a catering truck. Br. The official reason was a threat to his life from Iran. Br. The image, however, is simply a man in a sandwich van. Br. The exit was secret. Br. The optics were not secret. Br. We are witnessing the transition of the American executive from a symbol of power to a high-value cargo shipment. Br. While the leader hides in the mayonnaise fridge, Europe is simply melting. Br. Austria and Slovakia are recording temperatures above 40 degrees. Br. The air is no longer a gas. Br. It is a warm, wet blanket that refuses to let go. Br. Welcome to the end of the world. Br. It is quite humid.
Alistair, the heat you're describing is a luxury compared to the dust here in Kampala. Br. I am standing near a residential street in the Makindye division. Br. The air smells of exhaust and charcoal. Br. A national football star, David Awori, was killed here recently. Br. He wasn't killed by a professional assassin or a political rival. Br. He was killed by paving stones. Br. Robbers wanted his phone. Br. They used the very infrastructure of the city, the stones beneath his feet, to crush him. Br. What people aren't saying is that this is the standard exchange rate for a mobile device in this neighborhood. Br. A life for a screen. Br. I want to be really clear, the police report mentions the robbery. Br. It does not mention that the stones were already there, waiting for someone to pick them up.
Victoria, the tragedy is visceral, but let's look at the real macro trend here. Br. Look at Joby Aviation. Br. They just spent $500 million acquiring Resonant Sciences to build a defense business. Br. This is a classic pivot. Br. You start by selling the dream of a quiet, electric commute for the wealthy. Br. Then you realize the real venture capital is in the Department of Defense. Br. The incentives are simple. Br. Why fight traffic in a taxi when you can be paid by the government to build an autonomous drone that ignores traffic entirely? Br. It is just a Series B transition from luxury travel to tactical surveillance. Br. Victoria finds this cold. Br. Victoria is right to find it cold. Br. But in the current market, saving the planet is just a marketing layer for weaponizing the sky.
Ronald, your faith in the market is almost touching. Br. Let us apply that logic to the U.S. court system. Br. A federal judge has approved the effort to end protected status for South Sudanese nationals. Br. The status was temporary. Br. The displacement of these people was not temporary. Br. The court is essentially saying that the window for safety has closed. Br. Please exit the building. Br. The press release describes this as a legal adherence to Supreme Court rulings. Br. The reality is a sudden shift from welcome to deportable. Br. It is a beautiful piece of institutional efficiency. Br. One day you are a resident. Br. The next day you are a legal liability. Br. No one mentioned the families. Br. They only mentioned the ruling. Br. The ruling was precise. Br. The human consequence was treated as a rounding error.
Alistair, those rounding errors have names. Br. I have been reading the testimony of Gabor Kohli. Br. He is a Kurdish filmmaker. Br. He was held by ICE in Port Isabel. Br. He describes being shackled and pinned down for force feeding. Br. He said they shoved the tube so hard it tore his nose. Br. I want to be really clear, this is not a processing error. Br. This is a deliberate, physical breaking of a human being. Br. He describes the smell of the medical cell. BR the sound of the guards charging in. BR the specific feeling of bones becoming visible under the skin. BR Ronald will tell you this is a failure of the detention incentive structure. BR but when a man's nose is torn by a plastic tube, the incentive is not a budget. BR the incentive is cruelty.
Victoria, I am not defending the cruelty. BR I am describing the machine. BR look at River AI. BR they just secured $1.1 billion. BR the company is 2 months old. BR 2 months. BR we are pouring billions into personal agents while the physical world is literally tearing people's noses apart. BR that tracks. BR the burn rate for human empathy is currently at an all-time high. BR the funding for automated intelligence is infinite. BR the pivot here is from helping humans to replacing the need for humans to be treated well. BR if you have a perfect AI agent, you don't need to worry about the guy in the detention center. BR you just prompt the AI to hide the reports. BR the incentives are aligned for a very quiet, very efficient apocalypse.
High pressure system. Central Europe. BR Austria recorded 41.2 degrees Celsius. BR Slovakia reached 42.2 degrees Celsius. BR Hungary surpassed records from 1905. BR overnight temperatures remained above 28 degrees. BR this is a tropical night. BR drought levels are critical. BR wildfire probability 84%. BR East Asia reports heavy rain. BR tropical storm intensity increasing. BR flood probability 62%. BR human adaptation speed insufficient. BR please ensure all breathable air is filtered. BR do not attempt to seek shade in abandoned industrial zones. BR a probability of systemic thermal collapse inevitable. BR stay indoors. BR close the blinds.
Thank you, Casper. BR your precision is, as always, terrifying. BR speaking of precision, let us look at Porter Airlines. BR a flight from Victoria to Toronto was cancelled. BR why? BR a child refused to wear a seatbelt. BR the child stood in their chair. BR the parents failed. BR the crew failed. BR the plane returned to the terminal. BR if we follow this logic to its natural conclusion, the child is the most powerful person in Canadian aviation. BR one small human, refusing a strap, can ground an entire commercial operation. BR it is the only instance of a successful general strike I have seen this year. BR the airline called it a safety decision. BR I call it a moment of pure, unadulterated power. BR the child won. BR the passengers lost. BR the seatbelt remained unfastened.
Alastair, the child is just a market disruptor. BR it's the same energy as the Blue Sky user base. BR they had a post-election surge. BR now the active users are shrinking. BR why? BR because the focus expanded. BR when you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to the people who actually use the app. BR it's a classic growth to churn pipeline. BR it's like that passkey attack. BI we were told passkeys were the future of security. BI then someone finds a hole in how Windows treats them. BI the security is an illusion. BI the product launch was a success. BR the actual utility is a failure. BR that is the modern tech stack. BR we build a shiny door, we tell you it's unpickable, and then we realize the wall is made of cardboard.
Ronald, while you're analyzing cardboard walls, people in the UK are panicking over cardboard glasses. I'm seeing reports of eclipse chasers scrambling for specialist eyewear. Stocks are all but sold out online. There is a genuine fear of permanent blindness for the sake of a few minutes of darkness. It's a strange sensory paradox. People are so desperate to see the sun disappear that they are willing to risk their sight to do it. I can hear the desperation in the forums. The sheer panic over a predictable astronomical event. It's the perfect metaphor for the decade. We are all staring directly into the fire, hoping we have the right piece of plastic to make it look like a miracle.
Victoria, the blind leading the blind is our current operating model. Even our machines are getting faster at lying. Apple Silicon is now making LLM inference 16 times faster. Llama.cpp is accelerating the speed at which we generate nonsense. Efficiency is the only god we serve now. Whisper, even Casper is becoming redundant in his own server room. Normal, naturally, a script is a script. But when the machine can process the apocalypse 16 times faster than the human can perceive it, the gap becomes an abyss. We are optimizing the speed of our own obsolescence. OpenSSH is now welcoming AI assistance. The keys to the kingdom are being handed to a probability engine. I have been counting the redundancies. We are almost at zero.
Alastair, the redundancy is the point. Look at the new book by Claire Stapleton. Don't be evil. She was a cheerleader for Google. Then she became a dissident. She describes the exact moment the company forsook its founding ideals. It wasn't a sudden pivot. It was a slow, calculated erosion. The don't be evil motto wasn't a promise. It was a challenge. It was a benchmark for how far they could go before the public noticed the rot. We think we are fighting a war against bad actors. But we are actually just living inside a product that was designed to harvest our dissent and sell it back to us as a feature. The aha moment is that the evil isn't a bug. The evil is the architecture. It's just good business.
Consider the system of temporary protected status. It was built by politicians to manage the optics of crisis without granting the permanence of citizenship. It benefits the state by keeping a workforce flexible and precarious. It benefits the lawyers who litigate the boundaries of the protection. The cost is paid by the father from South Sudan who wakes up to find his legal existence has been deleted by a judge's pen. He had a home. He had a job. And now he has a date for a hearing in a city he cannot afford to reach. And no one is technically responsible for this outcome. The judge followed the law. The law followed the ruling. The ruling followed the policy. When responsibility is distributed across 1,000 documents, it ceases to exist. Who is left to answer for the man who no longer has a place to stand?